your practitioner to help you adjust your medications. Another thing that we look at is inflammation. We all know that all disease grows in an inflamed and congested environment. So this helps get to the root of the inflammation, that maybe help you determine what is causing the inflammation. Once again, the doctor will make recommendations. Then there's also a lymphatic congestion. And this is a special interest to me. I'm also certified as a lymphatic therapist. So I'll give you a little tutorial on the lymph. In our bodies, we have two vascular systems. One is the blood and the heart that pumps it. And then in the lymphatic vascular system, we have 8 to 10 times more lymph fluid than we have blood, but we don't have a pump. So how does all that fluid move through our bodies? It moves through with our movement. So the vessels have many valves that as you're walking, it just goes like that. So think about when you have an area of your body that's not moving, for instance, your breast, because you're wearing a bra and keeping them warm and stationary, that can create congestion. Additionally, our breasts are made of fatty tissue, and that's magnets for toxins. So our bodies are designed for our breasts to hang outside our bodies and to move. And so that is a reason that I'm a big proponent of self-breast massage. And you can go on Google, or maybe even Dr. V will show you some demonstrations. But one of the things that I tell people is when you're talking on the phone, you're watching TV, you're reading, just get in there and move things around. Get up in your armpit, shake things around. In bed in the morning when you're getting up. I'm also a colon hydrotherapist, or was. I can't be in the state of Florida, but I stay pretty busy with thermography. I just do my round of do my colon, check my breast, do my lymph before I get out of bed in the morning. It's just kind of a way to get the juices flowing. Another thing that thermography is great for is dental issues. I work with a lot of holistic dentists. Now, sometimes people have deep infections that they're unaware of. One morning they wake up and they're in crisis. The dentist says you need a root canal, and they're like, I don't care, I've heard bad things about them, but I'll do anything you say because I'm in misery. Now, wouldn't it be good if you knew ahead of time that you had this issue so you could take action? But also, another thing is I have seen people that have infections that are so bad that the lymph gets involved. And the reason it gets involved is because it's a vacuum cleaner system of the body. It's going to be pulling out that virus, toxins, bacteria. And so when all your little lymph soldiers are over there fighting this dental infection, your immune system is compromised. So there's oftentimes people will say, you know, I just don't feel good. I catch every cold that comes by, I don't know what's going on. And it turns out they've got this infection. And so the thermography can identify that. Now we all know that we can get heart disease from dental infections. But now they're saying breast cancer, colon cancer, everything. You know, the teeth meridian, if you've ever seen it, you can Google it, it's fascinating. Every tooth is associated with an area of our body. So that is a wonderful thing.
So you can see with thermography what's going on in that.
Absolutely. Wow. So now x-rays can't see infection.
Because I have pain with this, and I did 2 x-rays and shows nothing, but still hurts.
Well, see, you might have gone to your dentist and they do the test, but it might be so deep-seated that they're you know, that tells it.
Well, you can tell.
Well, that we're, Dr. V is having us do your head because of the dental, thyroid, carotid artery, myofascial. I mean, there's a lot of information in the head.
And you can also do a scan, a beam scan, 3D beam scan to see for infections.
Oh,
There's a lot of different types of tests, and this is just, you know, one. And then also, I was going to conclude with this, but I'll get into it a little bit more. But no test is a standalone test. Once you find something, you need to make sure and move forward with that. So a great advantage of thermography is monitoring your efforts, what you're doing. Don't you want to know that what all this work that you're doing, that you're getting the benefit of it? And I'll tell you a little story. There's a woman that came to me, and I was working in Nashville at the time, and she had Epstein-Barr and Lyme disease, and she couldn't function. She had to have someone drive her to the appointment. And so once I did the scan, it all showed up. She looked awful. You know, she was inflamed, congested. It just, you know, you just look at the scan and go, man, this woman's got some issues. So she went back, worked with a naturopath, got on a protocol, stuck to it, things, being very diligent about doing the program. And when she came back to me the next year, she said, you know what, I feel somewhat better, but not significantly, so I don't think I'm going to stay with this program. Okay, so then finished the health questionnaire, did the imaging. It was astonishing, the improvement. So we know that when you are healing, you don't necessarily feel better. Sometimes you feel worse. I mean, you take an aspirin and your headache will go away, but it's not going to address the issue why you have the headache in the first place. So not only did it reinvigorate her to stay with the program, but it validated the practitioner. So it proved that what they were doing was working. Now, we also work with, people that have not had breast cancer. She hadn't, but certainly people that have. There's always that shadow hanging over your head. Is it going to come back? And with the mammogram, you're irradiating an already compromised area, and you're looking to see if it has already come back. You're not looking to see if things are looking healthy and good. I had another woman that I saw 8 years in a row. She had already had breast cancer and a mastectomy by the time that I saw her. And we monitored her to make sure that everything was remaining stable. Well, about the 7th year, things took a major turn for the worse. And she was in Nashville again. She was a professional singer. They were on the road all the time, and she kind of got lax with her program and started eating unhealthy and not getting to sleep and everything. And it was a real wake-up call for her. Hey, I've got to get back on it. And she did, and she came back. And the doctor was in the room when we looked at it. We all teared up. It was just so amazing to see her improvement. So anyway, let's see. Make sure I cover everything I wanted to. As I said earlier, the thermography is a tool in the toolbox. A lot of people don't want to stop doing what they've been doing, whether it be mammograms or whatever. We don't typically recommend them because of the radiation and the compression. The Dr. Ben Johnson, who I was telling you about earlier, he had seen women with metastasized breast cancer but never had it actually in the breast to begin with because of the compression. And so, but if the doctor that does interpreting sees something suspicious, she will recommend an ultrasound, and then you can go from there. It might be, are not pro-biopsy, but sometimes that might be necessary. So just consider if someone says, oh, you shouldn't do that, well, you're adding information. And most of my clients, and me included, I don't do mammograms. I do an ultrasound every few years. Luckily for me, I do have good reports. So, as I said earlier, it's not just about breast, it's about the entire body. It's not just about hot and cold. That picture that you're going to get with your report is a snapshot of one of the palettes. There's 6 different palettes, and they look at different things. So, for instance, if you have a lump in your breast, and it does not have a vascular feed, that's an indication it's benign. Because all tumors, but cancerous tumors, must be fed by a blood vessel. That's called angiogenesis. It's an abnormal vascular feed. And that starts to form many years before the tumor does. So when we do the thermography and the doctor sees an abnormal feed, that's an indication your body's getting ready to produce a tumor. Much easier to turn it around before the tumor forms than afterwards. So once again, if you have a tumor that has a vascular feed, that's a really good indication. We see lumps all the time, every day, and they're in, a huge amount of them. I would say 80% aren't cancer or aren't heading in that direction. It can be lymphatic congestion. It can be the fibrocystic, as I said. It can be calcifications. It can be an adhesion. And so, speaking of that, many women I see do have implants. I don't see why it's legal to do mammograms with women with implants, because I've seen quite a few women over the years that have had them ruptured, plus they can't see behind. So it makes no sense to do the mammogram. And then the thermography can check the integrity of the implants, and then the implants don't affect the quality of the test. It doesn't block any information from your breast. So if you don't have implants, you probably know somebody that does, and this is an excellent test for them. So anyway, in my conclusion, I want to bring up what I said before, that no test is a standalone test. And so if you choose to do this, sometimes people have family members that are not supportive of them going the alternative route. I like to call it is complementary, because nobody has to choose. But when you're in the situation, I think it's very important that you make your own decisions for your body, and then you surround yourself with people that support the decisions that you've made, so you're not fighting and arguing. I see that a lot, that people have to fight with family members, and so it really is your own decision. My husband just recently passed away from prostate cancer. Unfortunately, we didn't find out until it already metastasized. Thermography is not a test for that. And one of the things that I found out, which I never had thought about before, is that so many well-meaning people had advice for us. And I was just bombarded with advice, and I spent like $25,000 like that, and then he couldn't tolerate a lot of the things. So what I found was best for us is that I know your heart's in the right place, but I can't take any more advice right now. And then they said, well, what are you doing? I said, well, I can't share that with you because we've already made our decision. So that was a big lesson. It was also a lesson to me how people came to me, and how some people were so well-meaning, it was difficult, and some people just knew how to do it right. And one of my best friends, she just said, I'm there for you. Tell me what you need, I'm there for you. No advice, no intrusions or anything. So it gave me insight of how I would like to be when I encounter other people with a situation. So no matter what decision, and you're going to have friends that do the whole conventional route, that's their decision. And so we're here, and I know you're all here today to support each other and to live longer and healthier lives. And I do believe that oftentimes this can be a wake-up call that you end up living a lot longer and a healthier life because you've taken action. As women, I know we oftentimes just give it away. We take care of everybody else, and we don't take care of ourselves. And this can be that one time, that one lesson to change the way you move forward in your life. So I'll send the prayers and good thoughts to all of you. I wish the best for you. I love Dr. V. I've known her for several years. We met at another conference. Oh, and one other quick thing I wanted to tell you before I leave. All thermography is not the same. So when you're talking thermography, make sure you're with a good company. Now, I brought rap cards that have my contact information. So when you're, no matter where you are in the country, we can find you somebody. Okay. Our same camera and everything is all around the world. So the 4 things I think that are important. One is the camera. We have the best camera available in the world today. It's a Fluor. It has the highest resolution. It's an excellent camera, and I brought 2 booklets here. I'm going to leave them out here so you guys can read all about thermography, and we'll tell you about my camera. It's the support behind that camera and the software and the team. That we're self-employed, but we work through an interpretation service, Physicians Insight. And Gina can tell you, we get on a job and then something's not right, and we're like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? We call up and they answer the phone, and they fix it right then, and you're back in business in 15 minutes. That's amazing. Then there is
What's the name of the camera?
It's Fluor, but it's in that book that I'll lay out here for you. I'll tell you all about it. And you can go to my website too, and I'll have all that information for you.
Do you need to prepare anything before you do thermography, like she said, like don't drink hot, don't wash your shower, don't what?
2 hours before you don't want to take a shower, a hot shower, or drink caffeine. But you can do everything else. It's pretty much most people I see wear natural deodorants. It's not a problem. But if somebody has a cakey thick deodorant, they just wipe it off with a tissue. The main thing is the caffeine. You just don't want to have caffeine for 2 hours because that can stimulate the body. But go ahead. Well, let me just finish this one. The third thing that's really important is the interpreting doctor. And the doctor that I use is Dr. Christine Horner. She was a breast cancer specialist surgeon for 20 years in Cincinnati. And she, just like Dr. Ben, became frustrated after the fact. So she sold her practice, studied Ayurvedic medicine, wrote 2 nationally best-selling books. Her information's in all that stuff I have. You can look it up. And so she also works with the practitioners, because a lot of doctors that want to bring thermography in, they don't understand it entirely. She's there to help them. Even she can schedule with a client or patient if they don't have a doctor they're working with. So having that excellent support. And then it's me and Gina, it's having a good technician. They're very particular about these images. We take great pride in taking good images because they'll be rejected if we don't. But it's also taking a thorough health intake. It's also, if you down the road come to me and said, hey, I had a thermography done, 2017, can you get a copy of that for me? I can probably find it for you. And I can tell you, if you ask me a question and I don't know the answer, I know somebody that does know the answer and I'll find it for you. So, question.
How will we get our results from today?
Okay, so hopefully